Thank you, Robin, very much. I wanted to say good afternoon to everyone, and we've got a big crowd. It's exciting to see. My name is Jennifer Brooks. I'm with the VISTA Member Support Unit, and I'm going to be guiding you through the first portion of this presentation. Throughout the presentation, we will be asking you questions for you to answer in the chat at the right side, right of the slide presentation. So this first question I'd like to ask, please take a moment in the chat to let us know what kind of student loans you have. And yes, I'm seeing quite a variety, which I expected to see, but that's great, yeah. Well, good. We'll be able to address questions really to all the various types of loans that you have. It's a great response. Thank you. So, choosing the Education Award as your end-of-service benefit may at first appear to be pretty narrow in its use, but if you take a closer look, you'll see that there are multiple ways you can employ the Education Award to help you that go beyond what you first might surmise. As this slide shows, the uses of the Education Award fall into a few different categories, such as paying existing debt, for example, loans, paying future costs, tuition, and there are other uses which I will detail in a moment. The most traditional use for the Education Award is for paying existing debt, and it happens to be one of the most popular. I took a look at the poll, and that seems to be what the majority of you on the call want to use your Education Award for. If you currently have student loans, the types of loans that can be paid by the Education Award are federal direct loans or loans consolidated through federal direct. It's always a good idea, if you're not sure what type of loan that you have, to make sure you double check with your lender. That way there won't be any surprises coming on board, or of course if you guys are already serving, you just want to check with your loan lender if you're still unsure what kind of loans you have. And all payments using the Ed Award, of course, are processed online through the my.americorps.gov website, of which everybody has their own member homepage and profile. Many of you still have plans for continuing your education. The Education Award can provide one avenue for paying for future education costs, such as tuition and fees. As you will see in the next few slides, there are a variety of uses that the Ed Award can be put towards that might not occur to you at first glance. Other uses that you may not have thought of include payment of books, school supplies and equipment, cost of living expenses such as food, rent, or transportation. If you do choose to use your Education Award for these types of expenses, you will need to arrange with your educational institution as to how payment will be handled. Because remember that the Ed Award monies go directly to the institution and not you. So if you're paying for things like computers, you will have to work it out with the financial aid office as to how that money can get directed that way, because the money isn't released to you directly. It goes only to the institution. In addition, you can use your award to attend overseas schools as long as these schools are Title IV institutions. The Department of Education website has a great Title IV resource page that you can consult. It lists all the current Title IV institutions, and those would accept the Ed Award as payment. In addition, enrichment classes and trade schools may also accept the Ed Award, though restrictions may apply. Again, you should always consult the financial aid office to make sure that the Ed Award is an acceptable form of payment before you commit yourself. Even though there are a lot of uses for the Education Award, there are limits that you have to work within to make sure to get the most out of your benefits. Your Education Award cannot be transferred to a dependent. It is available for use for 7 calendar years after you complete service. So for example, if you ended service December 25th, 2012, your Ed Award wouldn't expire until December 26th, 2019. So 7 years is a nice chunk of time for you to be able to use it. It is possible to request an extension beyond the 7 years. You would do this by contacting the National Service Trust through the National Service Hotline, that 1-800-942-2677 number. Extensions are granted in only a small number of circumstances, and the National Service Trust can tell you what those are. Your award must have an unspent balance, and the reason for the extension must be during the use period. So if you're trying to extend, it has to occur during the 7 years time. There must be a good reason why you were not able to use the Ed Award at that time and during the 7-year period. And only one extension per award can be granted. Later on, and my colleague will also refer to this website, but the nationalservice.org website has an FAQ section for the Segal American Education Award. It's a great resource. It answers a lot of questions on how to use the award and other various questions you're probably thinking of right now as the call's going on. Taxation. Yes. You should keep in mind the tax implications when using your education award to make the most of your benefit. The education award is subject to federal income tax in the year that it is used. So for instance, if you spend $600 or more, you will be taxed. And when you do expend that amount of money, you receive it's called a 1099 miscellaneous form. This form is automatically posted to your profile on my.americorps.gov. It'll be posted by January 31st. So for instance, for the 2013 tax year, by the end of this month, January 31st, if you had expended any funds in 2013 over $600, that will be posted for you, the 1099 miscellaneous form. In order to make the least impact on your tax bracket, you may want to time your education award payments out within different years. By that I mean, and this is going to vary by individual, so we can't know every scenario, so you should pay attention to what best works for you. But just realize that if you use a lump sum, like you use the whole amount, you're going to be taxed on that whole amount. So it would be greater than timing it out or spacing out the amount of money you use in any given year. Okay, so as I move into talking about loan forbearance, I wanted everyone to take a moment, again, in the chat area to respond to if your loans are already in forbearance. And I'm seeing yay, and some no's. Well, good. I'm glad to see a majority of yeses, and those for the no's. If you're needing help with that, we'll talk about it later in the question and answer section. Great. And we'll also talk about what you can do if you can't take advantage of the forbearance as well. So let's talk about loan forbearance. An additional important benefit that you receive when signing up for the education award is loan forbearance. And it is very crucial to understand what a forbearance is so you can get the greatest benefit possible out of selecting that award. Simply put, a loan forbearance allows you to temporarily postpone making federal student loan payments while you're in service. Most loans do qualify for forbearance, and they do have to be federal loans. And again, it's important to know your loan type. You may think a loan's federal, or if you're not sure, that's why you ask your lender. You definitely need to find out if it's a federal loan, because most of those loans will allow you to put them into forbearance. The benefits of putting your loan into forbearance are many. One of which is you will not have to make a loan payment during the duration of your forbearance period. So that's obviously a great thing, since VISTAs are on a limited income. Any interest accrued on the loan while it is in forbearance will be paid by the Corporation for National and Community Service. That's a great benefit as well. It's something that's in addition to the Ed Award itself. It doesn't come out of your Ed Award. So what that means is at the end of your service, you can put in a request for the corporation to pay the interest that accrued. It doesn't come out of the balance of your Ed Award. It's something additional, and that's a very nice thing to have as a part of the Ed Award benefit. And then once you've exited from your service year, that's when you'll have access to the interest accrual payment link from your profile on my.americorps.gov, and that's how you make those separate requests to ask for the corporation to pay your interest. As with the Education Award, forbearance does have its limits, so keep the following in mind. It is contingent on completion of service, so that what that means is if you were to end service at any point in time, could potentially owe the lender for any interest accrued during that forbearance period. If you have to complete the entire term of service. Also note, this comes up a lot, and I wanted to address this. Many people or VISTAs want to extend their service. That is, they want to not serve another additional year, but maybe 3-4 months more. Anytime you extend your service, you will not have the option of putting your loans back into forbearance. The reason that this occurs is because being able to put your loans into forbearance is contingent upon you selecting the Ed Award as your end of service benefit. And you cannot select the Ed Award as your end of service benefit for anything but a year-long period. So that this has come up a lot, and we've gotten a lot of questions about that. So I just want to make it clear, if you're thinking about an extension, the way that's going to impact you is that you will not be able to use the forbearance option. However, you could, and I'm going to discuss this in a moment, you could still do something with your loans. You can put them in deferments through your lender. And then lastly, for those of you who plan on serving more than 2 years, you think you might do 2 years as a VISTA leader or whatever, there is this option maybe not a lot of people have thought about, which is called a zero value education award. What this means is if you've already earned the value of 2 Ed Awards and can no longer, do that, but you still want to utilize the forbearance benefit, you could select a zero value Ed Award. So you wouldn't actually earn an education award, but all the other benefits would apply. You could still put your loans into forbearance, and the interest could still be paid. So that might have impact for people who, if they weigh how much you get from the cash stipend, which is the other benefit that you have, the second benefit that you can pay over an Ed Award, you might weigh how much the cost of that is against how much interest you would accrue on loans. And if it makes more sense for you to keep your loans in forbearance, you might want the zero option, definitely, the zero value education award option. So that's something to keep in mind. And so again, loan forbearance requests are submitted through the my.americorps.gov website. So you go on your member homepage, you select the Education Award link. I believe it's on the left-hand side. You follow the subsequent links to complete the request. If you do run across the fact that your lender's not registered already with the AmeriCorps website, then just click the link Institution Not Found and follow the prompts. It'll lead you on how to make a request to an institution that hasn't registered yet. And then lastly, everyone should be aware that there is the option of a paper form, but really we recommend that you do this online. It's the best solution, it's the fastest, and the hotline can, certainly if you're having problems, the National Service Hotline can set you up to get this done online. You can do this faster than it would take you to write out a paper form and send it to the first institution that you're trying to make the forbearance with. So we really recommend that you use the online system. And then lastly, and I alluded to this before, loan deferment. So I had talked about the fact that most federal loans allow you to put them into forbearance. In the case of if you have specific types of loans like private loans or specialized loans, there is the option, to put them into deferment. What I need to say about deferment is, though, that deferment requests are not processed through the corporation, so through AmeriCorps. They're not processed that way. Deferments are done from your lender. So anytime you're seeking out the deferments, you need to go to your lender to seek those deferments out. And the individual lending institution, those deferments are subject to their terms and conditions. So whether you qualify or whatever, it's on them. They determine whether you qualify for them. But that is an option even if you have like a mix of loans. Also remember this, if you place your loan into deferment, the corporation is not going to pay the interest. The only time that occurs is if you're using the AmeriCorps forbearance. And now I would actually like to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Ann Retoff, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jen. Before we dive into the next section, I do have another chat question for you. This one, another yes or no, have you consolidated your student loans? I'm seeing a lot of no's, a few yeses, a couple nopes. All right. We will talk about this a little bit in the coming section. Okay, so there are multiple federal programs that go above and beyond what the VISTA program offers that when used in conjunction with our benefit help to maximize the value of your education award. One of these is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and I have seen some people talk about this in the chat, so it looks like that at least a few of you are familiar with this and have taken advantage of this already. But for those of you who haven't, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program encourages graduates to choose a career in public service. Qualifying public service organizations include federal, state, or local government organizations or 501c3 nonprofits. And there is additional employment that qualifies, and all of these employment options are listed at studentaid.ed.gov. So if you're interested in whether or not your future employer may allow you to qualify for this, you can definitely check that out. And what this program allows you to do is after you make 120 monthly payments while employed by a qualifying public service organization, you can submit your remaining debt to the PSLF program. 100% of the remaining balance will be forgiven, and that balance is not considered taxable, so the forgiven balance will not be taxed. Unfortunately, there is no partial PSLF available, so if you do not work 10 years in a public service position, you cannot receive any kind of forgiveness. You must work 10 years while making those 120 payments. That work does not have to be continuous. You can have breaks in the time that you are working in a public service position, but you do need to make 10 years worth of payments while taking advantage of PSLF. So who qualifies? This is open to all Americans with federal student loan payments. Your loans must be federal direct or consolidated to federal direct. If you're interested in consolidating your loans, you need to call your lender. They will be able to give you more information about how you can go about this, and they'll be able to assist you with that process. Private and non-federal loans cannot be consolidated. To take advantage of this, participants, like I said, must work full-time for a nonprofit or government agency, including school districts, through the course of making 120 monthly payments. Full-time for the purpose of this definition equals 30-plus hours per week. Unfortunately, there is not any kind of retroactive credit for past public service employment. You must be employed in public service while you are making those payments. Another program that is associated with public service loan forgiveness is the income-based repayment. And you can take advantage of this regardless of what career you're in. This is something that has significant value to VISTA members. What the income-based repayment allows you to do is adjust your monthly payment, your monthly loan payments based on a fixed percentage of your income. For VISTA members, these payments can be as low as $0 to $5 a month, so we strongly recommend that all VISTAs take advantage of this. Payments will increase as your income goes up, but as long as you qualify for income-based repayment based on a certain threshold, once you're in the program, you can continue to make payments even if your income continues to go up after your service. Income-based repayment can be used with all federal loans except Perkins. However, if you want to look into income-based repayment, you can use it for consolidated loans that do include Perkins loans. Income-based repayment does not work with private loans. And at the end of 25 years, if you're an IBR and if you're not using the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, you will have your loan balance forgiven from the date of your initial loan. So 25 years after the date of your initial loan, you can apply to have that forgiven. So the qualifications for income-based repayment, you do have to indicate that you are in partial financial hardship, For the purposes of this definition, financial hardship is if your monthly payment amounts to something greater than what, if your monthly if the monthly amount you pay on your federal student loans under a 10-year standard repayment plan is greater than the monthly amount required to repay under IBR, then you do qualify for financial hardship. Like I said earlier, once you qualify, you can continue to make the payments under that plan, even if you no longer have partial financial hardship. So even after you end your service and you step out into a different career, you can still make payments under this plan. So there's certainly a lot of information out there about the different uses that are available to you if you selected the Education Award. So the big question is, how do you make the most out of all of these programs and all of these benefits? And here are some thoughts for you for making the most of what is available to you. So we suggest that while you're in service, regardless of whether or not you selected the Education Award or the cash stipend, you should apply for the income-based repayment program and get your monthly payments down to a minimum. Since you are, on a limited income, this will be very useful for you throughout your service term. If you are earning an Education Award, you should apply to put your loans into forbearance. It does look like most of you have done that or have attempted to do that, so that's excellent. The time you spend in service while in forbearance will count towards your 120 payments in the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. But be aware, if you're using your award to make payments on your direct loans, you only can receive credit for up to 12 payments. If you're earning a cash stipend, you should speak to your lender about alternative programs. Even if you haven't selected an Education Award, you may still qualify for other programs or other benefits because you do have a low income at this time. So you should definitely contact your lender about what might be available to you. If you decide to pursue income-based repayment and you have selected the cash stipend, you may qualify for up to 3 years of interest accrual payments. And if you re-enroll for a third year of service or beyond and you've already received 2 full Education Awards, you should consider that Zero Value Award, which Jennifer mentioned earlier. This will allow you to place your loans into forbearance and have the interest accrual paid off at the end of your service term if you complete your service as scheduled. All right, so I do have some information about the Perkins loans and how these are specifically related to VISTA service. If you have a Perkins loan and you've selected the cash stipend, again, you should apply for income-based repayment to get your payments down to as low as possible. And speak to your lender about the Perkins Forgiveness Program. If you selected the cash stipend, you can have up to 15% of your loan forgiven for each completed year of VISTA service. So if you do complete a second term, you can apply to have an additional 15% of your loan forgiven after that second term. This is something that's only available to people with the cash stipend. If you have selected the Education Award, this is not an option for you. However, if you did select the Education Award and you have Perkins loans, it is possible to use your Ed Award to pay off the Perkins loans if you consolidate it with at least one direct loan or federal family education loan. Perkins loans cannot be included in a direct consolidation loan by themselves, and you should contact your institution to see what other details may apply in these situations. So these benefits will continue on long after you've completed your service. After you do complete service, you should continue making your income-based repayments. Do maintain your tax records, your pay stubs, and your loan statements. You will have to report any changes in your income, and your payments may fluctuate depending on what your income is at a given time while you're in this program, but you can continue to take advantage of this after you complete your service. You should schedule your income-based repayment each month for a maximum of 12 months using your Education Award. Please note, there is no way to set up an automatic processing every month in the MyAmeriCorps system. You will have to log in and manually do this each month. So make sure that this is on your calendar to log in and actually schedule this payment each month. And then, of course, after completing 120 payments, including the 12 for your VISTA service, do submit your remaining debt to PSLF and have that forgiven. There are some other programs and benefits available out there that you may qualify for if you selected the Education Award. The first two are tax credits that many VISTAs do qualify for if they are utilizing their Education Award. The first is the Hope Scholarship. This, again, is a tax credit that provides an income tax credit based on the first $4,000 in post-secondary education expenses paid during the tax year. And then there's the Lifetime Learning Credit, which is based on the first $10,000 in post-secondary education expenses during that tax year. You should definitely look into this. This is something, again, that many VISTAs have been able to take advantage of in the past, and it can be very beneficial to you. And then also, if you are planning on taking the GRE, there are fee waivers that can be available to you. These are awarded based on income, and they're awarded by the Educational Testing Service, so you do need to follow up directly with them to see if you would qualify. This is not something that AmeriCorps approves. This is something, again, approved directly through ETS, so you should contact them. And there are also a limited supply of GRE fee reduction certificates available to colleges and universities, so please do check with your financial aid office to see if those may be available to you. All right, so after this course, what are the next steps? The first, obviously, was to get educated. So you've completed this course. This will be available. It has been recorded, and you will be able to access it after today's presentation. You should check with your lender if you've not placed your loans into forbearance, and you should see what options are available to you at this point. We suggest you start taking advantage of this immediately, since this is a benefit that is available to you now, and also definitely look into that income-based repayment. Also make sure that your lender is listed in My AmeriCorps. If it is not, then you can follow the instructions listed there, like Jen said earlier, and make sure that your institution is listed there so you can take advantage of these benefits. And also know what type of loan you're holding. The best way to do this is probably to call your lender, but you should also investigate the Education Award website that I showed you. There's a lot of information there on specific loans that should help you determine whether or not your loan qualifies. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Robin or Andy, and we will move in, I think, to the question and answer session.